some skin, you know. The ladies like it.
All right, and we're live. We are officially in the third episode of, I guess we'll call it the Conquer Podcast, and for lack of a better name, we just call it the Conquer Pod. And today I got some great guests, guys that I've made a lot of videos with in the past, and I'm excited to have them on. I think each guy that we have tonight has a different perspective, which is great. You never really want to have like an echo chamber where everybody just kind of throws out the same ideas. It's always great to have different, fresh ideas and see different perspectives. So if you want to give like a quick introduction, maybe what you do, what you're interested in, where people can find you, your tag on Instagram or on YouTube, whatever it is that you're interested in, you can give like a quick brief introduction just so our audience can get more familiar with you guys.
Yeah.
Sure. You want to
start off with Alex?
Yeah, sure. So Alex actually born and raised in Northern California, a smaller city called San Jose. Moved out here to Houston about 4.5, 5 years ago. I actually moved out here for my son. I have an 11-year-old now, so he was like 7 at the time. And so I do sales, been doing sales for like the last 10 years. So started off, on retail side. Now I'm on the software, up in the corporate side of the house. And man, I thoroughly enjoy, honestly, hanging out with Jay. We met at the gym actually,
yeah.
And ever since then, man, we've just been coming together and really collectively talking about current events, just about our culture, and we just found a lot of alignment, right? And it led to this discussion today. So I'm really happy to be on. I'm happy to have the opportunity to have a platform to be able to discuss, different topics and meet new people with good vibes.
For sure.
Nice. Cool. My name is Dominque Carter. Originally born in Panama, moved here when I was about 5. Grew up in Houston most of my life. Full time, I'm a tech consultant, so I'm really into business and software. That's what I do. Outside of that, I'm really into photography. It's like a huge passion of mine. Just do a lot of street photography, cityscapes. Trying to get into the fine art space right now. Growing that business and trying to get into more galleries and museums long term. So that's a little bit about me. My Instagram is @DomsCarter. That's where all my photography is held. I have a website on there as well, along with the book I dropped. It's on the link on my Instagram. So that's me.
Well, I'm Alex. I've been here in Houston for my whole life. And what I do is I do jiu-jitsu, and I'm learning to become a photographer and film. But mainly I'm just focused on doing jiu-jitsu. That's why I met Jonathan. And then all that, I'm just learning as I go jiu-jitsu and become a black belt soon in the future, like 10 years or whatever it goes.
Yeah. Yes, what's great is like we have like different backgrounds, which is great. Martial artist, we got a creative, like he wants to do photography. I consider you an artist just based off the work that you do. Very inspiring. And we got my boy Alex. He has a lot of that suave, masculine demeanor that I really like and I admire as well. For me, you guys should probably know me by now, man. Like I'm kind of also like Dominic. I'm in the tech space and I do a lot of IT consulting, but I also really enjoy, making videos, doing podcasts, YouTube videos, and just getting our stories out there. And my thing is just making like a platform where we can actually discuss ideas that can help us elevate like our lives and the people that we love, the people that we care about. So so jumping into the podcast, guys, like what do you guys think about the Metaverse? Seems like we're going into a Matrix. It's the Matrix Reloaded. We're no longer in we're going into this augmented VR reality, and it's kind of interesting to see what's going to happen in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how it's going to play out. I think it is cool. Just like the concept itself is cool. Being able to go into this virtual reality and meet people and express ideas, maybe experience art, movies. Like possibilities are endless. I think it's like a really cool concept. I'm just concerned on and people are concerned as well, is like if people are going to get addicted to being in there and not experience real life or don't want to experience real life anymore. But I think overall it's a really cool concept. It's really going to change the way we live life, we do business, the way we consume media. It's going to change after that. So we'll see. I think I'm really curious to see how the adoption is going to be. I don't know how fast people are going to jump in. Are people going to be hesitant? I don't know. That's what I'm curious to see. So
Yeah, same here, man. Like, I don't know too much about the metaverse, as I think I should be a little bit more aware of it. But based on what I've read about it, it's like we are going into. I mean, it's interesting. I think it might have some interesting, innovative aspects to it that we can use. I mean, you know, potentially maybe for business or maybe to make like our day-to-day lives more efficient. But it is kind of scary. Well, it's not scary. I don't think it's scary, but it's more like it can be a little bit controversial as to how much time you're spending in the metaverse, as opposed to like in real life, where like this is like the reality. You know, this is our world.
Right. Yeah.
But you know, I've seen a lot of guys that they can kind of get addicted to video games or that VR space. Maybe like even like with pornography. I've seen some guys get addicted to that, and in reality, it's like it's a false world. That it's not like the real world that we live in, the tangible world that we live in. So I think if you can distinguish those two things, I think it'll be all right. But it's just the younger youth that doesn't have that they don't have that knowledge because they never really, like, for example, man, like when I was like I grew up in the 90s. I was born in the 90s and I grew up in the 90s, and I still remember there was a time where we would like ride bikes. We would like go play kickball outside. Like everybody would be outside. And now it's like, it seems like kids don't do that as much as they did like when I was growing up. Yeah. So it's just kind of weird, you know, like, I don't know, man. I think it's interesting to keep an eye on it, but I don't know if it's, I don't know, man. I don't want to get too wrapped up into it, you know?
Yeah.
I think there definitely has to be some limitations, right? You know, I have an 11-year-old now, and he lives in Fortnite, right? I mean, he watches, he listens to music, he goes to concerts, he hangs out with his friends. I mean, he's already kind of there, right? And if I referenced the first movie that I saw that really drew me into that idea of a metaverse was Ready Player One by Steven Spielberg, right? Yeah. And that's exactly, I think, when I saw that and we heard about the metaverse, me and my son, he goes, "Dad, it's like the video game movie we saw, Ready Player One." I said, "Absolutely." I go, "What do you think about that?" He goes, "Honestly, for people that are," and he was, meant the terms like introverts, right? For those that really like enjoy living in their own space, in their own mind, being with themselves, can really have the ability to express themselves and show everything they're interested in and interact with people in a way that doesn't take them out of their space. And I said, wow. I mean, obviously he didn't put it as eloquently, but he in fewer words, that's what he said, right? What he was trying to kind of allude to, and I thought that was actually a great idea. But again, the first thing I said was, I mean, there should probably be like an age limit, right? You know, just like Fortnite, right? Just like any video game, right? You have like rated M for mature and all that stuff. So maybe once this whole world gets created and allows people to enter it, there's an age restriction to avoid that kids, get addicted at such a young age.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because at the end of that movie, do you remember? I think once they got control of the game, they set a limit to where I think it's like at least once a week they shut it off.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I think if they do something like that, it'll be good, because everything is you have to do everything in moderation.
Exactly.
So it's like if they're able to set some kind of limit with time or day, I think it'll be beneficial. It just can't be
once
on
a year?
all the time.
Once a year they cut it off?
No, it's like
once or twice a week.
Yeah, it was like
twice a week.
And literally like the whole like universe shuts down, and it basically encourages you to hang out with your friends and family like in
real life. Yeah.
Send me inside the house or in place all the time, hours and hours. You're just sitting there doing nothing or playing games.
But you think that it can get to that point where?
Oh, I think if it starts off that way, I think so. Yeah, but they definitely have to set. Yeah, they gotta. I think they gotta do that early on, because they didn't do that with video games, right? They don't shut down your console once a week, twice a week.
It was the parents, because my mom did for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a struggle in itself, man. I mean, you get a lot of kids, and I was reading about this recently, that are really suffering from anxiety, suffering from just like the lack of social skills like at all, and really can't gain those skills at a certain age, right? I mean, once they get to a certain age, it's a lot harder to teach those type of skills than to start at a young age, and that's that's always been the fear for me and my son when he started getting into video games. So right now, and on top of that, the temper tantrums and stuff like that, when they don't get to play the game, that whole side of anger is triggered by that lack of stimulation that the game provides. Nothing else really can provide, right? Nothing can provide that kind of stimulation, and that's where they'll get frustrated or they get internally mad and then lash out, and that's a real issue.
Yeah, I think it's just also like the physical aspects of our lives, which is like lifting weights. If you want to get stronger, you have to go to the gym. If you want to get in shape, like you have to go run. I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a part where you can actually do that in the metaverse. It might have some type of like intertwine, but I don't think you're gonna have the same quality of like healthy lifestyle if you're too involved into the metaverse, because your interactions is what you see in the metaverse. Like you put on the Oculus, or you put on the headset, and this is what you see. But you kind of disregard like real life because you just want to be in the metaverse. So it's kind of like, I'm wondering if there's like,
there's like two
if that's gonna be a challenge,
I mean, there's like two different things on how he said, like what you said, you have an introvert, what your son said. There's like introvert, like they always want to stay inside the play, they want to be in their own space because that's what they are. But most of the time they're in their own space, they like being themselves. Like once they're playing a game, like they don't know who they are. But like when they start talking to other people, like it can be anywhere. It can either be people from, I would say, either Chicago or West California, even though you haven't met them, but you're talking to them and you go,
right,
having like good conversations. Instead of being outside, you meet new people. Like there's some like introvert get scared whenever they go outside, or they just feel shy or feel quiet, or they start getting anxiety to meet new people, and they don't want to like be like that when they're outside.
Right.
But when they're inside, they're calm, no one distracting them, they're themselves, they're playing video games, and then they're also talking to people, and then they're also helping them, like, hey, what's going on with the background, are you okay, you good?
Yeah.
Because me, I played video games for my whole life, I was a kid.
Yeah, same for me.
There's two generations as I go, because
would you be considered a millennial, or are you Gen Z already?
I
mean, I don't know.
No, that's like Gen, yeah.
Because I would go like both ways, but like I said, like you said, you were born in the 90s, yeah, I was born in the 90s too. Like we used to go outside, play kickball, or play hide and seek, riding bike, and hanging out with friends a lot. I used to be like that too. But then once again, like a new generation, they say new PlayStation now, or a new game or console, whatever, everybody else start going inside instead of going outside.
Well, I think what it was the concept of playing online.
That really changed.
That's what changed the game.
That's what it did for me.
That didn't happen to me till I was in college with Halo. Halo 1 was the first in Xbox. I think that was Xbox 360 maybe.
Halo 1 was just a regular
Xbox, right?
Yeah.
So regular Xbox, and I remember the idea of going online was like completely out of this world for me. I was like, what do you mean? Like, no, you can play with people like in Germany. I'm like, why do I want to do that? Like, I want to play with my neighbor, right?
Yeah.
I just need an extra controller, so I need to go get one. That's how we thought, right? Because
Yeah.
it was like, yo, call the neighbor and invite him over. We're gonna hop on the sticks, right? We're gonna play video games. But now it's like, wait a minute, you mean I can have all these friends inside of this online play?
Yeah.
That's where my son's at. Where it's like, son, you have friends? Yeah. I have like 2 friends at school, like outside of video games, but I have like 17 friends inside school. I have a lot of friends in Fortnite. I'm like, where are they at? And he's like, well, so that's the also the dangerous side too, right? It's like, who is that person being? So that's, again, that we can go on about that, but that's his idea of friendships now. He got 2 types of friends. He's got his online buddies, and then he's got his house friends. So I think online gaming really changed that concept. I mean, I had some friends online too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it was more of like my friends from college. That they would be in Cupertino, I'd be in San Jose, and we could play, right? And then I started getting sucked into like ranking and all that stuff.
Same.
And then I started meeting people from all over the world, and I was like, yo, this is wild. And I remember at a young age, interestingly enough, with my son's mom at that time, I was like 20, right? And she would hate it because I literally would be on all night. I wouldn't study, nothing. I'd be on Halo all night. From like 10 o'clock at night to like 3 o'clock in the morning. Playing with all these dudes from all over the world.
Yeah. Speaking of ranking, like there's also like now this year or past couple years, like you also can play in a team and win for money. It's just, I would say it's the kind of same thing. Like you can play like NBA or any sports that you go. Like you get paid for as a team. Like they also pay you. You get a contract and you play a game and you also win.
So do you think that's been kind of like? Do you think that's kind of been like a almost like a false hype? You know what I mean, or for like a false reward to some of these younger. Like, what's that example that they're setting? Because it's big now. Like there's millions of dollars and it's getting spread all over the internet.
Yeah.
And you get some of these young kids like my son. He's like, Dad, I'm gonna be a millionaire playing video games, and I'm like, I don't want to discourage him, but at the same time, I don't want to see him playing 6 hours a day on the.
No, I was just gonna say it. Just so like, cause I'm really into video games and like esports. I competed a little bit when I was younger, and so it's like you have to set the expectation. Like, okay, if you want to do that, you have to be the best. Like, you have to be like at a top, one of the best players in a certain game to do that. So you have to be like, tell them realistically how to. If that's his goal, you have to say realistically, if you want to do this, this is how you do that. It's like with anything, you can always give kids false hope to be, you can like be a star or whatever like that, but if you tell them, you can do that, but you have to like, there's proper steps, you have to practice, you have to be good, take it serious.
It's like you have to put so many hours in there to be better every single time.
Yeah. You have to go out and compete.
I would say, if you want to put hours in there, I would say just have at least at least 10 hours a day. Yeah. But I would say just like, if you're in school, you focus on school, and you have like school, 6 or 7 hours, and you're going home right after school trying to practice more, you have like next 3 or 4 or 5 hours.
Like, I don't know about you guys, but like the way I was raised was, I mean, you go for that secure position, right? Yeah. That secure, what do you call it? That secure job.
The job,
right?
Yeah.
It's like going to school and getting good education. That's the most secure route that we were taught as children. I'm a first generation born here. My dad's from Ecuador. My mom was born here, but from descendants of Mexicans. So the idea was go to school, be a doctor, engineer, something that's secure, gets you a good level of pay, and you gain the education, and that's it. It's so crazy because as a father now, I don't want to go down the same road, but I also understand why my dad told me that. He was like, look, I just want you to have a stable future, right? You know what I mean? Like, that's all. And that, I didn't really understand that was the reason why my dad was telling me that. I just thought you need to be an engineer or a doctor. And I'm like, man, I don't want to be that. But he was just saying like, look, man, at one point you're going to have a family, you're going to have kids, you're going to have a house, you're going to have these bills. And you should have a steady income. You know what I mean? And so when I talk to my son about games, I'm just like, I don't have much to say because I'm like, man, I really want to tell you to go for something secure, but then I also want to, I want to encourage you to continue pursuing your passion. Yeah. And I mean, he's 11, so he's still not still got to find out what his passion maybe really be. Yeah. But of course, that whole concept of saying, hey, I want you to go after something that you're passionate for. For example, you in photography. You know what I mean? I guess the biggest question to you would kind of be like, eventually, do you see that taking over your day job?
Yeah, that's a good question. And to your point about like the generation and your parents, it's like that back then, because my mom kind of told me to say the same thing, but it's like that's all they knew. They knew that was a secure path to make sure you're going to be fine, right? But I think once the internet became what it was, it just flipped the script on everybody. Like now there's so many opportunities online, and not just video games, like people, online businesses, online code, like there's so many things that you can do online, so it just flipped the script on, like, you don't have to go to school and get a degree and do the 9 to 5. There's so many other ways to make money.
It's a great point.
And like, when we're in like the program, they taught us about those things, and people who graduated from the program, like and went off to do their own thing online and start off like online business and making millions of dollars. So it's possible. It's not easy, but it's possible. But to your question about like photography, I thought about that a lot, and I'm still trying to see what that would look like for me in the future. Because long term, the way I see myself is just kind of being a serial entrepreneur, just kind of being into a lot of different things, investing in a lot of different projects that I'm passionate about, and photography is one of them. And so I know that since we have the internet, there's a lot of ways for me to, get my work out there, get my ideas out there, find out other people that want to invest into different things. So yeah, it just changed the way we look at the world, the way we look at work.
Right.
So it's like it really flipped the script. Like your son could potentially, because yeah, like I follow the big teams, they're making millions of dollars. The streamers are making millions of dollars. So it's possible, right? It is possible. It's just a matter of how do you approach that realistically.
That's a really good point because at the end of the day, it's also, I love that he's passionate about video games, but it could very well be, I mean, he can fall into a certain passion of doing work and maybe use the metaverse as a platform in which to share, you know, that work, like photography, right?
Yeah.
It could be a possibility to sell your work on the road. I mean, the first piece of land sold in that space for, I don't know, upwards of, I mean, I think it was in the millions.
Oh, really? I didn't know, but it was like real estate in the...
It was already real estate. I mean, it's kind of the same as NFTs, right?
That's
yeah.
NFTs,
So I mean, that's the other thing too. So if he, like, I don't want to discourage it because if he says, well, there's an opportunity now in the metaverse to either, I mean, like you guys you went to college and they started talking about like the online presence and understanding how that world works, which I think would be amazing. But you know, that's something I would encourage him to do. Like if there was ever a class to be like, this is how to be successful on the internet, you know what I mean, or in the gaming industry, man, you know, that all stemmed from him playing video games as a kid. So
yeah, sure. I think it's coming from that perspective, it can be a little difficult because you have your son and you want the best for him. Like that's kind of how I feel with my nephews. I'm like, I want the best for my nephews. You know, I want them to go to school. I want them to do their best. But you know, like I try to give them all that motivation, encourage them. But then you start jumping into like that, you know, like video gaming or even like playing professional sports. Like that's a very small percentage of people that can play professional sports.
But you don't want to tell them that, right?
But you don't want to break their, you don't want to like break their dreams. You want them to actually pursue it if they're like very passionate about it. But then you also have to be. There has to come a level of realness where you tell them if you want to like pursue that. You have to put so much time and effort into doing it. It's not just gonna like, because imagine all the guys that are doing this. Imagine your competition. Like everybody wants to be a professional baseball player. Everybody wants to be a professional basketball player. Right. But you have to like outwork all these guys, and you also have to have that level of talent that you can actually do it. Because I can never be a professional basketball player, and I know that, bro. Like I'm too short. You know, like I'm too short. I can't do it, man. These guys are freaking huge, man. I can't, even if I try my best, bro.
I think it's a lot of it too is my son's an athlete as well, but it's the work ethic and the values behind the sport. Because LeBron James didn't become LeBron James, you know, because of his talent. But he also was there because of his dedication, but also where he went to school, right? Who he knew. So sometimes it's not about exactly. That was a great point right there. Was the proper steps necessary? I know that my son's a great soccer player, but I know a ton of great soccer players that went pro, but still didn't get to that level of greatness because they didn't have the exposure, or they were missing one of them. Whether it was the exposure, the work ethic, whatever it was. You know what I mean? It didn't get him to that elite level. And that's what I tell my son. I said, look, we're going to start right here, right? And right here means control what you can control, which is your game. That's what you can control, your game, your work ethic, how much you put into it, right? The sweat equity is what we call, right? And so, and I said, if you do that, right, when you fall in love with the process, the results will come. But also, the right people will connect with you, and you will connect with them. You know what I mean? But it doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen in a year or 2 years. These individuals have played their entire life, and it's been dedication their entire life. It wasn't just like I started dedicating myself to jiu-jitsu like last year, and I went pro. Now that can happen, but it's few and far between. Like most of the MMA fighters,
it takes years.
I mean, been fighting in undercards for years and years and years. I mean, whenever you see some professional boxer go on the scene, they're already like 32-0. Like, how's that guy 32-0? Well, it's because he played professional. He fought professionally. He just wasn't exposed like that. He just made it to get his shot, you know, a year ago, whatever, you know. So.
A lot of boxers, bro, they get their asses beat. I think any combat athlete, that they have to get beat to get to like that position where they're actually like world class and they're the best at their sport. Like Mike Tyson talks about that all the time, bro. He always says that like I've gotten beat so many times off camera that when I started getting on camera, like I was just rolling through everybody because I already did it so many times.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's that trial and error, you know, because like I think in anything, if you're trying to get good, you're gonna fuck up, man. There's gonna be a lot of times where you're gonna mess up, you know. It's not gonna be like easy process just to get there. But yeah, man, it's just interesting, like that work ethic is very important too, and just kind of being like realistic too, to some degree, which is like I think as an older figure, like for my nephews, you for your son, like sometimes you have to kind of give them like that realness too, you know, because they get both sides of it, you know, they get okay, you can do it, it is possible,
right?
But there is like you get, you know, I'm just be honest with you, like you know, you have to work hard, like it's not gonna be easy.
It's the amount of realism in leaving part of the dream in there, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what I love about children, man. I love that they can just dream, bro. Like they're just like, man, I'll be an astronaut, man. Like I'm like, man, I wish I had those dreams, right? But you know, we all do at some point, right? We're all born with just like that clean slate, where it's like anything is possible. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I've always loved about my son, you know, or just about like children in general. They could just go, man. Their mind just takes off, and you're just like, wow, that would be really cool. You know what I mean? And so yeah, man. I mean, that happened with his mom. I mean, that's why we're here. His mom, since she was a little girl, man, she had that little NASA backpack on. You know what I mean? With a little spaceship on it, right? And little pins and everything. She was a kid, and she always wanted her dream to be in the control room, like Apollo 13 with Tom Hanks, right? And she never let go of that dream, and now she's there. You know what I'm saying? She's an aerospace engineer. You know what I mean? We're both from the same side of town, east side of San Jose, which wasn't the greatest part of the city, but she never let go of that dream. She pursued it to the end. She had a son at 20 years old. You know what I mean? And now she's a master's graduate working at one of the most respected aerospace companies in the world. You know? So
that's awesome.
You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, those dreams can happen. But again, where did that start? I mean, she was like 5. You know what I mean? And that was also a person that just knew since 5 years old that's what she was gonna do, and like that was it. You know? So that's the other thing too that we have to pay attention to our children today. Of like when they have it like that and they're just so confident at such a young age, you're like, you know what? It's our responsibility and our obligation as parents to say, you know what? I'm just gonna continue like keeping that hand right behind their back. Casey, lean over a little bit. That's all right. You're still going that route. Instead of telling them you're not going that route, you're going this route. It's more like, hey, let's just keep you going that way, and let's see how far you go. Right, and that's exactly what happened. Her mom paid for her first, couple years in college, and she just took it from there, man. So
that's awesome.
It's also having that guidance, like you guiding them along.
That's
the way,
it, right?
That
guiding them, holding their hand instead of saying, "Hey, look, this is where you go, not that way. You go this way." You know what I mean? And like I said, as growing up in a first generation home, it was the my way or the highway mentality. It was like, dang, and that was always really, really, if you're a stubborn personality or very, like a personality like mine, you're gonna rebel against that.
All right, so there you have it. If you made it this far into the video, make sure to give us a like. Also, smash that subscribe button and join our channel, Conquer Mindset. All we do is focus on masculine topics, what's going to take us to that next level so we can become the best versions of ourselves. I'm gonna make sure to put all of the guys' Instagram tags on the bottom in case you want to follow them. Make sure that you keep up with everything that they're up to. I'm curious to know what you think about the metaverse. Do you think it's gonna be a positive thing for us, make us weaker or make us stronger? Drop a comment, let us know what you think. I'll catch all of you in the next video. Stay strong and keep on conquering. Peace.